It wasn't even their song. But somehow, one heartbreaking ballad about a love gone cold turned a gritty Scottish rock band into global legends. How did a group known for snarling guitar riffs and hard-edged vocals end up with a worldwide hit that made grown men cry? The story behind Nazareth's biggest track is a wild mix of chance, pain, and something nobody saw coming. Back in 1960, Love Hurts was just another melancholic ballad buried in the Everly Brothers catalog. It had that soft, classic sound, melodic, emotional, but hardly a breakout hit. It never charted, never caught fire, just another love song drifting through the airwaves. So why did Nazareth, a hard rock band from Dunfermline, Scotland, decide to cover it over a decade later? These were guys known for raw energy, heavy riffs, and snarling vocals. Their fans didn't come for ballads, they came for the noise. But something about Love Hurts stuck with lead singer Dan McCafferty. Maybe it was the brutal honesty, maybe it was the quiet rage in the lyrics. The band didn't just cover it, they transformed it. They slowed it down, stripped it back, and delivered the lyrics with a kind of aching sincerity that felt dangerous. Gone was the polished harmony of the Everlys. In its place, pure emotional grit. The lyrics weren't just sung, they were bled out, and that's when something unexpected started to happen. When Nazareth stepped into the studio to record Hair of the Dog, Love Hurts wasn't even part of the original plan. The album was meant to be loud, aggressive, a showcase of raw, unfiltered rock. But producer Manny Charlton had a hunch. Something about slipping in a slower track felt risky, but right. So they reimagined the song. Gone were the smooth, clean harmonies of the original. Nazareth dialed up the distortion just enough to let the vocals shine and let the pain speak for itself. Dan McCafferty's voice cracked with just the right amount of heartbreak, gritty, weathered, and haunting. He didn't sing the words, he lived them. They even tweaked a few lyrics. A simple change like "love is like a stove" became "love is like a flame," a minor shift, but one that burned hotter and hit harder. It was still a ballad, but this version had teeth. By the time the band finished recording, they knew they had something different. What they didn't know was how far it would go. Love Hurts wasn't even included on the UK version of Hair the Dog. That's how little faith the band had in it. It was tossed onto the US release almost as an afterthought, a soft track buried in an album built for headbangers. But the moment it hit American airwaves, everything changed. The song exploded. It shot into the US top 10, hitting number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. In Canada, it went straight to number 1. It stayed at the top of the charts in Norway for an insane 14 weeks, longer than most bands even stay relevant. Suddenly, Nazareth wasn't just a rock band anymore. They were international stars because of a heartbreak anthem. What shocked everyone most wasn't just the success, it was how it happened. This wasn't some carefully crafted radio single. It was a raw, emotional left turn that hit people straight in the gut. And as the song climbed the charts, fans began seeing Nazareth in a completely new light. But with all that fame came a different kind of pressure. For better or worse, Love Hurts became the song everyone associated with Nazareth. It was the track that got them radio play, filled arenas, and sold records worldwide. But it also cast a long shadow over everything else they did. The band had built their identity on grit and power. Songs like Hair the Dog were pure attitude, pure fire. But suddenly, people only wanted to hear the sad song. Fans would shout for it at every concert, sometimes ignoring the rest of the set list. And while it brought them fame, it also boxed them in. Dan McCafferty once admitted in interviews that the emotional toll of performing it night after night was real. It wasn't just a performance anymore. It was a weight. A song that wasn't even theirs had become their legacy. And no matter how many hard rock anthems they released afterward, nothing ever hit quite like Love Hurts. Still, that emotional connection, that raw honesty, it stuck with people. And what happened next would take that impact even deeper. As years passed, Love Hurts took on a life of its own, almost bigger than the band itself. But behind the scenes, things weren't as smooth. Dan McCafferty's voice, that gravel-soaked powerhouse that defined the song, began to show signs of wear. Decades of touring, smoking, and pouring his soul into performances caught up to him. By the early 2010s, whispers started to spread. Fans noticed he struggled on stage. Some shows were canceled without much explanation. Eventually, in 2013, he stepped away from touring entirely. The official word was health issues, specifically chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. But fans speculated there was more to it. The emotional toll, the exhaustion, maybe even deeper mental battles. Then, in November 2022, the news broke. Dan McCafferty had passed away at 76. And instantly, Love Hurts was everywhere again. Tributes poured in. Old performances resurfaced. People weren't just remembering the song, they were feeling it all over again. Because suddenly, those lyrics felt even heavier, even more real. But the story didn't end there, not even close. If you want more videos like this, or other deep dives into music and culture, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out my page for more content. Thanks for watching. Love Hurts didn't just cement Nazareth's place in rock history. It seeped into pop culture in ways no one predicted. Over the years, the song has been covered by dozens of artists, but none made a splash like Cher's 1991 version. Her rendition brought the track into a new generation, proving its emotional punch was timeless. It started showing up in movies, TV shows, and even ads. Esurance ran it in a high-drama commercial. Horror films like Halloween used it to twist the emotional tone. Somehow, a slow-burning ballad about heartbreak became one of the most recognizable sonic signatures in rock. Even legends were listening. Guns N' Roses openly cited Nazareth as an influence. Their own slow burners, like November Rain, owed a debt to that raw, emotional formula Nazareth perfected. Crushing vulnerability delivered with gritty conviction. What started as a quiet, unassuming cover had transformed into a cultural echo, one that still resonates today. But even after all the covers and tributes, there were still a few things most people never knew. Here's something that might surprise you. Love Hurts wasn't even part of the original Hair of the Dog album released in the UK. That's right, the very song that would become Nazareth's defining anthem was left off their home country's album entirely. It only appeared on the US release, almost like an afterthought. Imagine that, a track so powerful it became a global sensation, yet it was initially ignored where the band was from. It's a reminder of how unpredictable the music world can be. Years later, Nazareth revisited Love Hurts in a way no one expected. In 1994, they teamed up with the Munich Philharmonic Orchestra to record a sweeping orchestral version. This cinematic take gave the song a new dimension, adding strings, brass, and a grandeur that made it feel almost like a soundtrack to a movie about heartbreak. While it didn't become a chart-topping hit like the original, it quietly found an audience in Germany and other parts of Europe, proving the song's timeless appeal and versatility. But there's more beneath the surface. Some longtime fans and insiders speculate that the emotional weight of Love Hurts mirrors real tensions and struggles within the band, especially for Dan McCafferty. While the band never publicly confirmed it, many believe that the raw, almost painful delivery in Dan's voice wasn't just performance, it was deeply personal. They say you can hear his life's hardships, regrets, and battles echoed in every note. That vulnerability may be what keeps the song resonating decades later, because it's authentic, lived experience set to music. And finally, here's a fun fact that most people don't know. Despite its huge success, Nazareth's Love Hurts was never officially released as a single in the UK. The song's journey to rock legend status happened mostly overseas, making its worldwide impact even more remarkable. All these little-known details add layers to the story, showing that sometimes the biggest hits come from the most unexpected places, and the deepest emotions hide in the quietest corners. So, here's the wild truth. A simple cover of a little-known ballad became the soundtrack that made Nazareth legends. It wasn't the heavy riffs or the wild stage shows that turned heads. It was the raw, aching honesty packed into one song. Love Hurts proved that sometimes the most powerful moments come from the quietest places. And it leaves us wondering, what is it that really makes a rock legend? Is it the pain in the words, the voice that delivers them, or something deeper? Maybe it's all of it. Maybe it's the stories behind the songs we never forget. If Love Hurts ever hit you in a way no other rock anthem could, hit like, subscribe, and share your own story in the comments. Because legends aren't just made, they're felt. Before you go, here's a question for you. What's a song that hit you so hard it changed the way you think about music, maybe even life? Drop it in the comments below, because sometimes the songs that hurt the most are the ones we never forget, and that's the real power of music.